Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and welcome to the 2012 North Central College Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony. We are joined by several current Hall of Famers. Will you please welcome to the stage, from the class of '93, Darren Bishop. From the class of 1962, Dick Blick. From the class of 1985, Bob Dunphy. From the class of 2002, Sue Kane. Coach Jim Kolawiak. From the class of 1961, Jack Nothacker. From the class of 1990, Susan Randazzo. From the class of 1958, Jim Rank. From the class of 1987, Matt Richards. From the class of 1948, Dick Smith. From the class of 1996 and 2004, John Weigel. And from the class of 1991, Sean Welty. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome North Central College's newest Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. From the class of 1968, Luther Selbo. From the class of 1982, Dan Seart. From the class of 1995, Jim Dickerson. From the class of 1998, Chris Calvis. Track and field and cross-country coach, Frank Garosa. Special inductee, Dr. Ken Sanders. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2012 Hall of Fame inductees.
Thank you, Jim Godo. That's a great introduction to quite a group. And I look over there and so many, all of them I know from those that I watched play football here at the college when I was growing up, to all the ones that were here when I was working, as I've been working here, and Ken Sanders, who was healing people before I got here and is still doing it. And so it's wonderful. Welcome to the annual induction ceremony for the North Central College Athletic Hall of Fame. We're excited to have you here to celebrate the contributions of these wonderful individuals, successful athletes at North Central College. We established this recognition in 2004 to honor the important role of student athletes in campus life in the history of the college. This history includes an Olympic gold medalist, participants in the Pan American Games, 29 national championships, and 115 individual national titles, and 180 Scholar All-American Awards. It's impressive. This great tradition, excellence both in the classroom and on the playing field, a tradition continued throughout our history. Before we introduce our inductees, I'd like to acknowledge some of our special athletes in the audience today. First, we have several representatives from the 1947 Cardinal football team, which went on to play in the Corn Bowl that year on Thanksgiving Day. I know we have some of the 47 team here, is that right? There we go. Ted, let's stand up and wave. That's great. I also want to welcome several members of the 1982 Cardinal football team. They're celebrating a 30-year reunion. It's a team that won 7 games under Lloyd Krumloff and went right down to the end of the season battling for a championship. They had the most wins of any football team since our team in 1960 that was a championship team. And that record of 7 wins held until 2003 when John Thorne entered the picture. And that was the year he won his first 7 games and never looked back. But I wanted to recognize that great team from the early 80s that Lloyd led. I know Lloyd's here and some of the teammates. You guys want to wave and see, where are you? There they are. Can't you guys stand up? The 47 team stood up. Oh, Tim, your knees are okay. Now I'd like the President, Hal Wilde, to say a few words.
You notice how they say a few words? You know, I'm a lame duck. I could talk for hours. Hey, welcome. Welcome to all of our Hall of Famers. Past, present, and future. It's great to have you here. It's a particular joy for me to greet this year's class of inductees. In 67 years on this earth, I've only broken one body part, my thumb, and Doc Sanders put it back together, as he has so many Cardinal athletes for 36 years. I was there in Grinnell, Iowa in 1993 when Jim Dickerson and his teammates set the all-time NCAA Division III cross-country record for low score. The picture of that team is hung on the wall of my basement ever since. No guard in the history of Cardinal women's basketball on my 22 years has ever been as much fun to watch as Chris Calvis, or as good. And of course, I have hundreds of moments with Grammy on my all-time highlight reel. So Luther, Selbo, and Dan Seart, you're going into the Hall of Fame with a class eminently worthy of your achievements. Yesterday, North Central's youngest trustee, Matt Brill, who couldn't be here today because of a wedding, but he's another member of this Hall of Fame. And he's another member of that fabulous 1993 men's cross-country team. Yesterday, he was honored as an outstanding North Central College alumnus. It got me thinking again about that team pictured on my basement wall. That picture is about more than the joy North Central's great athletes have brought to my life and all of our lives. It's there as a standard, a challenge to each of us. If this group of young men could be the best ever in the NCAA Division III, while carrying a full academic load, without athletic scholarships, at this humble and not very rich school in the Midwest, why shouldn't we set a similar high bar for everything else that the college takes on? That picture went up nearly 2 decades ago. It wasn't too long afterward, thanks largely to the vision and generosity of spirit of a couple of alumni athletes, Al Benedetti and Dick Worley, that we raised the bar on stadium facilities for every small college in the Midwest. And 10 years later, again with these men and their colleagues taking the lead, we did the same thing with our state-of-the-art, LEED Silver certified, 200,000 square foot, one-of-a-kind residence hall recreation center. And then there was the construction of the finest concert hall on any small college campus I know, where we gather this morning. Every night when I sit in my basement easy chair, that's the only place my wife allows me to smoke cigars, so I spend a lot of time down there. When I sit there trying to do work, and I stare up at that picture, those athletes, the class of 1993, that national, class of 94, 95, but it was really the 93 national championship cross-country team. When I stare up at that picture, those athletes stare down at me. I know there's like 40 guys in the picture, and basically almost all of them, I know them. They're in my head forever. I look at them and they're staring down at me and they say, when are you going to get a science center worthy of this great college? Why shouldn't the school that produced Dr. Dan Ruge and Dr. Ed Roll and Dr. Mildred Ribstock and so many other amazing scientists have a world-class science facility like all our other upgraded buildings? Why not indeed? All it will take is 60 or 70 million bucks. I'm sure there's some of you out there who are capable of making that happen. When we honor the college's greatest athletes, like we are today, we aren't just celebrating their achievements, as wonderful as they are. We are celebrating a standard of excellence that continues to challenge us all to dig deeper and reach higher. Why not the best? Why settle for anything less? We gather at a moment when our student athletes are raising the bar like never before. 7 national championships in the past 3 years. 7 national championships in the past 3 years. 6 conference championships this past year, the most in the CCIW. 6 straight football conference championships. A football team with a 3.0 grade point average and more academic All-Americans and All-Americans than any other CCIW school. We've got more national championships at North Central thanks to Grammy and Jim's and so many others than all the other CCIW schools combined. But some today can remember a time when some of these kinds of achievements were a lot more rare. All of you, though, were part of the long march towards excellence that we celebrate in our 151st year, where hard work and high standards are translated into achievements that will never be forgotten, achievements that continually challenge us all to reach beyond our limits for nothing less than the best. Jim Dickerson, Frank Garosa, Chris Calvis, Ken Sanders, Luther Selbo, Dan Seart, and all the members of the Athletic Hall of Fame who have joined us this morning. Thank you for the joy you brought into our lives as student athletes. But more than that, thank you for the standard you have set for all who have followed, as competitors, as people, as cardinals for life. More personally, thank you for so many incandescent memories. So many incandescent memories that have made my 21, 22 years at North Central such a joy. I've promised the Board of Trustees that when I retire in 2 months, I won't haunt my successor. I won't come back on campus for some significant length of time. But when I was talking to the varsity athletes a few weeks ago, I found myself looking out at our Cardinal mascot, and in a red Cardinal Chippy, we call him Chippy, the mascot uniform. And I looked at them and I said, don't be surprised if I don't start showing up in the Chippy costume soon. Like all of you, I'm a Cardinal for life, and I'm damn proud of it.
You might be able to recognize that tall Chippy. I don't know. Thank you, Hal, for your support over all the years for the Hall of Fame and for all the athletes and coaches on this campus. I know that I can say from personal experiences that having a president that leads and supports and is at all the games, all the events, that you don't reach success like we have had without a leader that cares deeply about what has happened to those student athletes. And I know a lot of institutions that I talk to and friends that I have across the country, they're envious that we have a president, had a president, and have one that cares deeply about what happens here. And you've had great leadership, and we really appreciate it. I know, go on. But you're a lame duck, so it doesn't matter. This year's class of inductees continues that tradition that we've had, and we're proud to honor them today. You will learn more about each of our honorees as they are introduced by a video before we introduce them on stage to receive their coats. First, we're honoring Luther Selbo, class of 1968, who fortunately made a decision to play at North Central College versus Wyoming, where he was, or some of the other schools that were recruiting him. I spent my junior high years coming down to North Central College and walking the cinder track, watching you throw that ball over the place, Mike Mayer catching it all over the place, and it influenced me greatly to want to be a running back and a receiver. And you were a joy to watch, and I think all will enjoy the video that we have here to introduce you.
Luther Selbo began his college football career at the University of Wyoming, but left after one semester hoping to find an opportunity to establish a better balance between athletics and academics. It was on the recommendation of his high school coach that he ended up at North Central College. Selbo's arrival at the college ushered in a period of success in the passing game that would not be rivaled in the Cardinals football program for nearly 40 years. Selbo threw for 1,335 yards, a school record at the time.
Luther actually was probably the first, I would call, quote-unquote, passing phenom at North Central College.
The 1967 season saw Selbo establish North Central records for pass completions, pass attempts, passing yards, and touchdowns. Each of Selbo's records remained intact until the 2005 season, and he remains in the top 10 in each category.
By the time we got to our second year, I was converted from a defensive back to a wide receiver, and between Luther and myself, probably we were bigger than average and faster than average, and nobody could catch us.
Such a pass-heavy approach was an uncommon strategy during an era when the running game was far more prominent in most colleges.
I suspect it was a bit of a shock. I mean, most teams in that era would throw the ball 10, 15, 20 times a game at the most, and we were throwing it 40 or 50, and I mean up to 60, I think, at one point.
Selbo's lofty passing numbers soon caught the eye of several professional scouts, and he was selected to compete in football at the professional level. He played one season for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the Canadian Football League before deciding to coach high school football for a time, and his love for football has never left him. He currently officiates high school football games, something he's done for the past 34 years.
Luther, before I ask you to get up and get your coat, I did want to say that it's too bad that you weren't asked to replace the officials in the NFL, because I'm sure you would have made a different decision in Seattle for the Packers that day. I would now like my pleasure to welcome Luther Selbo to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
Before I do anything, I've got to get this off my chest. I've had something that I want to return to the athletic department. I think Bob Corris swiped it, but I've had it for 40 plus years. And I think it's time I gave it back. For a long time, and I just felt terrible about having it and never returning it. So.
We're glad we could rid you of that guilt.
Thank you.
By the way.
I was here in the 60s. I came to college in the 60s. And like some of my teammates, I was in college for 3 reasons. My folks expected me to go to college. I could throw a football, and I didn't want to get drafted. Those are the 3 reasons. But like all sorts of events, and Deanna and I were talking about this earlier, there's unexpected consequences that happen. I got here, and the unexpected consequence was I got a great education. I ran into people like Dr. Geary. You guys remember Dr. Geary? He inspired me in political science. And even though I watched some of the stuff that's on television with the political process, Dr. Geary is on my shoulder saying, Luther, go vote. Participate in the process. I ran into Mrs. K. If I remember, Mrs. K taught me integral calculus. She mothered me through integral calculus. She really cared about it, that I understood integral calculus. She'd probably roll over in her grave if she knew that I taught mathematics for a living, but it was an unexpected blessing. And blessings were Reuben Blessing. Remember Reuben Blessing, who ran the field house? He took care of Mike and I, gave us jobs. And the job was to paint a little bit and then go out and play catch. But he was an amazing man. And then I met a young man who came here to teach and be a professor and coach who I thought had great potential and enthusiasm. And evidently Al Carius had that potential and enthusiasm because we all know what he did. So the unexpected consequence was that drifting around I got a great education. And even reluctantly, sometimes. And even though some of my teammates and classmates would drag me from time to time to the Warrenville Tap, which I believe they tore down a long time ago probably, I still got a great education. And that connection that you have with teammates and classmates, regardless of distance, regardless of time. I saw these guys today and it's like we saw each other last week. It's like we're still playing. It's just been great. I appreciate them being here. This school, this honor is just phenomenal to me. I told Matt I've never been this nervous in my life about doing something. I thank you deeply for the opportunity to be here and to do this today. Thank you much.
Thank you and congratulations, Luther. Next up is Dan Seart, class of 1982. Dan was inspired by that young teacher and coach, Al Calvis, and his famous motto, run for fun and personal best. But he never ran competitively. Here's how he left his mark on North Central College record books.
North Central College wasn't the intended destination for Dan Seart. But after plans to attend another university fell through right before his high school graduation, Seart began to make other arrangements. After his arrival on the North Central College campus, Seart continued to thrive in the shot put and discus events in which he had competed at the high school level. But excelling in those two events wasn't enough. After finding a hammer stored away in a closet, Seart began practicing for a third event.
And at that time, there wasn't even a circle around campus to throw this, so I threw it off a parking lot, and then we ended up pouring a circle out in the corner of the practice football field, and that's where the hammer came in, and that ended up being my love.
A qualifier for the NCAA Division III National Championships all 4 years, Seart earned All-America honors in 1981, placing 5th in the discus, 4th in the hammer, and 3rd in the shot put.
I'll never forget that one day we were out here at the track, and it was a big track meet, and he had had great accomplishments and qualified for nationals and set records and everything else, and I thought those were one events, and I remember trying to find him. When I finally found him, I said, "Hey Dan, congratulations on everything that happened today," and his response was, "Yeah, Coach, I got a personal best today. I got several personal bests."
Seart became the first athlete in North Central history to earn All-America honors in both the discus and hammer, and was the first in the program's history to be so honored in 3 different throwing events.
Sometimes people specialize in 1 or 2, but he was a specialist in all 3. And it's, like I said, it's very rare to be All-American in all 3 disciplines.
3 decades later, Seart still ranks 6th in North Central history in the discus, 4th in the shot put, and 3rd in the hammer.
He had the perspective of our philosophy, and that was to make the most of your God-given talent. To me, that's what success is. You know, everybody's got different levels of talent, and making the most of it and challenging yourself and being the best you can be is what it's all about. So he had outstanding national accomplishments, but more importantly, he had tremendous personal growth within him.
It's my pleasure to welcome Dan Seart to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
I remember looking at that guy in the mirror about 30 years ago. Now I look and I see my father, but God bless my wife, who the other day came to my rescue with, when she saw me frowning about how after 30 years I've basically put on a pound a year, and she goes, "But you're bigger and better." And it holds with me, thank you, man. But how does a country kid make his way down to a college outside of Chicago? And when I do look back, if we're going to look back 30 years, I really got to look back 43, because if it wasn't for having the older brothers that I did, there's no way I'd be outside of my county, much less down here outside of Chicago. And it all started off in a frozen car, driving to Madison, Wisconsin to see my big brother Mike, who was a giant at 138 pounds, wrestle at the state championship in front of 14,000 people. And I think I was more afraid and nervous for him than he was for himself. But within 30 seconds, he goes out and sticks his first opponent, pins him, and to see 14,000 people erupt for a wrestler, my brother, out there on the mat, it opened my eyes to possibilities that were outside of Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. You combine that with my 2 other older brothers, Butch and Dave, Dave, a heck of a runner and basketball player himself, and my biggest brother Butch, who just wouldn't back down to anybody, it gave me the foundation to really just go after it. And from then on, it was a matter of bringing together friends, family, heroes, and angels that all came into my life and continue to come into my life. God blessed me with a 23-year-old intern out of the University of University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, who allowed me to try something totally unique in the shot put, which was the spin technique back in 1974. And if it wasn't for Brian Oldfield being on the cover of Sports Illustrated back then as well, converting the event into something that nobody had ever seen, I wouldn't have risked it, wouldn't have chanced it, wouldn't be up here, that's for sure. Because I was really too short to be a glider in a shot put. But nonetheless, you know, Dad threw me a stone when my brothers and I were clearing a field one day. He said, "Show me how far you can throw this thing." And he said, so we did it. And he said, "Well, that's a shot put. I think you're built for it." So he ended up building me a circle behind the house. And after my brothers graduated and moved on, that was pretty much my solitude. Just through day in and day out. After high school, actually coming up to my senior year, and after a couple of state championships there, I did accept a scholarship to Columbia University, which fell through. They found out my GPA was only 3.2. So the Dean of Students called up, it was late June, said, "You can't come, we can't let you in." And that was the second angel in my life. That angel phoned the house. And it was some student caller here from North Central. You guys have all been a part of the phone program here, calling around, and one of them had to ask, "Have you picked a college yet?" No. And in fact, one just fell through, and sight unseen, I wanted to talk to these guys. All of a sudden, Al Carius, Lloyd Krumloff, Hank and Ron Gunther were all involved. They came up to the house and didn't even pay the campus a visit. Came on down and never looked back. Al continues to be an angel in my life as he introduced me to all sorts of friends, terrific friends. Dale, Weedy. We ended up going on a recruiting trip over to COD. Great training partner, Tim O'Grady, who can't be here tonight. Tim, I know you sent me that text, and I thank you. But you were a wonderful friend and a true brother from another mother that I can't thank enough. But it was the rudder of Al and the motto of "Run for Fun and Personal Best" that really hung with me, and became a personal philosophy. Because you can take words out of that philosophy and replace them with your own and still come up with the same story throughout life. And I try to hand it down to my kids. My wife is always there, keep me on the straight and narrow. But after it's all said and done, it's nice to look back on this and to see just what the institution has turned into. And I'm glad that in 1982 the whole team was one of the foundation blocks for the true visionaries of the college, which was Gail Swing, Hal, Grammy, and Al, amongst numbers of other. If there was another university looking back now, if I knew then what I do now, if colleges would call up, I'd tell them, you know, there's just no way. Keep your money. I'm coming to North Central. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Dan. Next, I would like to introduce Jim Dickerson, class of 1995, who did win a few races in his career at North Central College. Hal talked about a little bit about it. Here's the story of one of North Central's most versatile runners.
Jim Dickerson was initially attracted to North Central College because of the team atmosphere cultivated within the men's cross-country and track and field programs.
We have
a little brother, big brother program at North Central College, and he was my big brother. And so he took me out on the very first day on campus. He said, "John, we're going out for a little run." And we went out for about a 10 or 11 mile run.
On the track, the team dynamic was always present, even as Dickerson went on to become the only North Central runner to achieve All-America honors in every distance event from 1,500 to 10,000 meters.
He's known as probably the most versatile distance runner ever to go to North Central College.
Dickerson was an accomplished athlete with multiple All-America certificates, but he was most valued as a teammate.
There's not many people I would, rather be teammates with than him. He just, you could always count on him to run a great race as a teammate. You could always count on him to be there as a friend as well.
Dickerson currently serves as a guidance counselor and boys cross-country coach at Hinsdale South High School, and credits the atmosphere and discipline he enjoyed as an athlete to helping him achieve his career goals.
I look at all the people I ran with, and I know it sounds corny, but it's like we have good families, good marriages, good jobs, we're happy, we're healthy. I mean, it's, almost to a man. And the program had to have something to do with that.
It's my pleasure to welcome Jim Dickerson to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
All right, that's, I was here in 2004 to help induct John Weigel, and I must say this is a much more intimidating venue than it was. So this program has grown. I want to thank you all for being here, taking the time out. I didn't think I'd be this guy, but watching that, listening to Hal, that'll be fine. It is, as you see, it's humbling. And when I talked to Jim Miller, when he called me up, and I called him from school in the last day of school this June, again, he announced or let me know that I'd be a part of this. And of course, in my mind, I wanted this. I'm not going to lie. And I thought, maybe I'm due. I don't want to lie. But man, when you hear it, and you know what a great school this is and what a great athletic program, and the people over there, just how awesome they are, and you hear it, it chokes you up. So I'm going to take a breath, and I think I'll get through this. I think my biggest challenge today, like Hal was saying, is maybe to stick to 6 or 7 minutes, but I will, all right? I will. I respect the schedule. I want to thank my family who all made it, which is awesome. My mom, my dad, my sister, so the first 3 people I knew, my wife whom I met here at North Central, and probably only liked me because I was a good runner. And of course, my daughter Macy, my son Charlie, niece, nephew, it's just amazing. My first coach is here, and that would be Jim Dickerson, my father, who actually, I have a confession. I wasn't an amateur when I came here because he one summer when I didn't like running, and it was really hot, but he saw the talent in me, he paid me 50 cents a mile. True story, and I still didn't even run that much. It took me to get here till I really got it in my blood. It's just a shame that Al can't be here. Because it was great to see him this morning because, like Dan was saying, I mean, wow, we all owe so much to Al Carius and our philosophy in life. So quickly, how I chose NCC. I was in physics class, and I was actually ready to take a test, which was rare. I remember my coach, who was also a science teacher, coming in, and Coach Mike Sullivan, who can't be here because he's coaching at sectionals, came in and said, "Jim, Great opportunity for you. Al Karras is here from North Central College. He wants to talk to you. And I'm thinking I'm a big shot. I'm looking at, Division I schools who aren't offering me any money. And I'm like, North Central, I've never even really heard of that place. And I'm ready to take this test. I'm like, and he said, no, you should come out. I'm like, okay. So my teacher said, yeah, go. So I went and talked to Al, and I was just immediately blown away. I'm like, okay, I'll check this place out. And I mean, again, like Dan was saying, if I had to do it over again a million times, I'd choose this path a million times. My freshman year, I saw Darren Bishop here this morning, so I had to write him into the speech really quickly. So, like John was talking about, me taking him out on a 10 or 11 mile run, which I didn't remember, but it doesn't surprise me. I think I did that to him when he was in high school. Because his brother was one of my teammates. But Darren did the same thing to me. I distinctly remember it was maybe February my freshman year, and Darren came to my room and said, Jim, we're going on a run. I'm like, okay. I think it was a Sunday. We probably had an indoor meet the day before. And we went for about 20 miles. And he liked to torture you when he was running with you. So he's... his famous line, you'd get well over an hour away and he'd be like, we're running away from school. And it was great. But that was our mentality. And that's how 93 got it done. He wasn't technically on the 1993 team, but to hear that I'm helping these capital projects, even though I got into education, so I can't actually give a lot of money, by inspiring, Darren had so much to do with that team that even though he technically wasn't on it, we had his soul. We had his heart. He was a great teammate. And also a Darren memory that I think summed up a lot of us is we loved running against the Big Ten teams and Notre Dame. And so one of my first indoor meets, I had, at the time, the race of my life, it was a University of Illinois 5K, my first 5K in college. And I got out there and just felt great. It was weird. And I'm running these splits that I had never run before, and there's our captain, our All-American, Darren Bishop, struggling. And I'm like, there's Darren. I'm going to go get him. And when I got up to him, I turned to him and tried to, coax him along a little bit. He's like, Jims, go. Get away from me. Which again, it shows we were a team. It wasn't about us. And at the end of that race, I almost caught. I was 1/10 of a second behind the guy who my freshman year of high school was a state champion in Illinois, Mark Shire. And it was like, that's when I realized, ooh, this could be fun. And we went from there. A few quick stories, and then I'll wrap it up. My sophomore year, I think something again that we were talking about this morning that happened to be written in my speech. We didn't, I'd be lying if I said we didn't care or weren't motivated by national championships, but we were more into competing. My sophomore year was at Saratoga Springs, New York, our first national championship. Darren and John and I, first time we had witnessed that, accomplished it, was not a good morning. We didn't feel like we ran well, and we didn't know right away we ran well, and we were sort of hanging our heads all morning long. And when we found out we had won the national championship, it was like an artificial, yay, that's cool. We were happy, but we were like relieved. And that kind of sums up how we just, we're into competing. My junior year was a little differently. The dominant meet at Grinnell was beyond, it was the most incredible thing that can happen, almost. Nikki. And then winning track by 1 point over the heavily favored UW lacrosse. Those were great because we knew we had put it all out there and done our absolute positive best. Senior year wasn't as easy. That's more like real life. Junior year was a fairy tale. You say hard work reaps dividends, and it does, but senior year is more like life. We were upset by Williams College, and it came out of nowhere. But senior year, you learn a lot about character and reality. I think if I would have ended after junior year, I would have thought life was kind of easy like that. It's not. So my senior year track, this just kind of shows what a great place North Central was and why it's better for me than going to a Division I Big Ten school or something like that. My senior year, when I think maybe the reason I'm here today, probably the reason I'm here today, is my senior year track, getting the All-American in the 1500 and the steeplechase after I had the longer events and setting the record in the steeplechase. So here's what happened. I was a captain of the track team, one of them, and I think I attended about 5 track practices that spring because I was student teaching, and this is North Central, this is Division III. I was student teaching. I was busy. You know, student teaching English, grading papers, making plans at Oswego High School, commuting 20 minutes after that. John would wait for me, or a guy named Dave Walter, who was a great Masters runner at the time, or you know, Matt Brill, some teammates. They would wait for me. They'd go to practice, they'd go to the meeting, they'd hang out, and they wouldn't run. And they'd wait for me and run with me. Dan Iverson, who was in his first year teaching at Naperville North, would get up with me at 5:30 in the morning, morning run with me. So I couldn't choke it up again. Not over this, I don't know what it is. And then, so that happened, you know, those events while I was not even attending practice. And I know a lot of places they say, no, you can't do both. You can't run track this year. You need to redshirt or you need to make a decision. But it's a, you know, place of education. And then the final story is, you know, the night, the people on the team know this, but the night I set the school record in the steeplechase, I had qualified in the 10,000 and the 5,000, and there were 2 meets left before nationals. And I had actually qualified for a steeplechase my freshman year, so it wasn't actually out of the blue. But I converted. I decided 5 and 10. But I just had this like voice. I'm like, must try the steeplechase again. And I figured, you know, Al might say, or any sane coach would say, no, you've got it. You don't want to get hurt. You could fall over a hurdle, whatever. I'm like, I have to try this. So my teammates are like, yeah, whatever, go ask. So this was about a half hour before the race. I'm like, Al, I got to run the steeplechase. He's like, that's great. Go for it. I jumped in the group that was taken off to warm up in the steeplechase and, you know, said school record, so that was cool. I thank you all so much. I'm so humbled for being here. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jim. I told him, he really does a good Al. That was really awesome. Our next honoree is Chris Calvis, class of 1998. She brought her own cheering squad. Chris is a rare athlete who was outstanding in 2 separate college sports, basketball and softball, as Hal had mentioned earlier. And today she's going on to become a successful high school coach in both sports. Let's learn a little bit about Chris.
Many athletes at North Central College excel in a single sport. Kristen Calvis excelled in 2. In her first year, Calvis was a second-team All-College Conference of Illinois and Wisconsin selection in both basketball and softball. She went on to become one of North Central's most accomplished athletes.
What an asset to have in a lineup, and very hard to find a person like that over a period of time that can play at that level. So we were very fortunate to have her.
Calvis became a 4-time All-CCIW honoree in both sports, as well as a 3-time All-Region selection in softball. She graduated as the softball program's career record holder in 4 categories and still holds North Central's career record for batting average. She also established 3 single-season softball records and remains the program's standard bearer for runs scored in a single season.
One of the things that distinguishes her from some other athletes is she wasn't just good in one sport and so-so in another. She was outstanding in both sports.
Calvis served as the head coach for both girls basketball and softball at Waubonsie Valley High School in Aurora from 2003 to 2009, winning 4 Illinois High School Association regional championships in basketball, before moving to Mattia Valley High School in 2009 to become its first varsity girls basketball coach. She became head varsity softball coach a year later. And it was North Central College's Division III philosophy of the student athlete that helped lead her to where she is today.
Everything connects. Obviously, as I have athletes, I encourage them to attend North Central and go back to everything they did for me. My philosophies on the field and in the classroom are what I learned from Coach K and Coach Hansen. Not only did they help me grow up, but they helped me, as a professional and as a coach and a teacher and in life.
It's my pleasure to welcome Chris Calvis to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
Well, you would think being in the classroom and as a coach this would be easy, but it's a little different for me, so I'm going to follow a little more of a script than probably everybody else did, just because I don't really like talking in front of large groups. But anyway, when I received the phone call from Coach Miller to be inducted, and he told me that I was going to be receiving this great honor, honestly, I was surprised. The thought never really crossed my mind as I was an athlete, or now I'm just focusing on, being a coach and helping my kids grow. Being able to be here and compete at the collegiate level in both sports that I enjoyed just let me escape from life and kind of provided me an opportunity to get away from being in the classroom and worrying about student teaching and everything else going on. So to be here is such a great honor. As I was going through North Central, 3 people really influenced me as I grew up, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank them today. First one are my parents. Both of them worked extremely hard when we were all growing up, family of 4. And I know that it was different for me to come here. The rest of my siblings attended big universities, and this was a little different path. However, even though it was different, they still supported me and encouraged me to accomplish my goals. So, Mom and Dad, thank you for everything you've done for me. I truly do appreciate it and probably don't thank you enough. The second are my teammates. There is no way I could be standing up here today if it wasn't for the great people that I played with. Basketball, I'll always remember our motivational movie nights that we had on New Year's Eve in California, and here when we upset top-ranked Illinois Wesleyan and chased down Coach Hansen and dumped water on her. In softball, our spring break trips were always memorable, whether it was us begging Coach K to make pit stops on the drive down to Florida, learning how to wash our uniforms in the bathtub so that they were clean for the next game, or when we were sitting by the pool and my best friend Tracy decided to give me a new middle name of Granathlon. Whether we were on the field or off, we were always laughing. But most importantly, whether it was spring or winter, the teammates that I was surrounded by were unselfish, kind, and funny, and they were still competitive. They pushed themselves to be better and challenged me to be better every day I walked on the field. Most importantly, as much as I wanted to be perfect, whether I was playing basketball or softball, they taught me it was okay to make mistakes. They always picked me up and they always had my back. So thank you to all of you for making me who I was when I attended North Central. And last, I want to thank both Coach Hansen and Coach K. Both of them taught me so much, not only about the game, but about life. So much of who I am as a teacher, a coach, and a person is because of their influence when I was growing up. When I first became a head coach at the young age of 26, I knew that I was prepared to handle the challenge because I had 2 great role models to follow. They both taught me what type of drills to run in practice, how to show my players respect and still challenge them, and how to manage in game situations. My players have heard plenty of stories about my playing days, from Coach Hansen getting so angry with me she wanted to kick me out of practice, to Coach K pulling my pants down before a softball game to show me how to roll the cuffs of my pants. I did have shorts on underneath, so it wasn't anything inappropriate. But I can only hope that whether I'm joking around with my own players or working them hard, that they're learning and growing as athletes and young adults under my leadership as much as I did under Coach Hansen and Coach K. Even though I've been fortunate to coach many teams that have won conference titles and regional championships, the moment I will always remember is when my players first called me Coach K, because in my eyes, there's no greater honor. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Chris. Next, I'd like to introduce one of college's coaching legends who has inspired hundreds and hundreds of athletes during his career, Frank Garosa.
The North Central College track and field program thrives under the guidance of head coach Frank Garosa. Garosa was a recruiter at Northwestern University when Al Calvis was being interviewed for a position there.
I was picking his brain, and he finally, sometime in December or November, December, said, you know, I'm not going to take the Northwestern job. I'm going to stay here at North Central. Would you want to come and coach here? And while I was still a high school teacher, and I jumped at that opportunity to be a part-time coach for a couple seasons.
After 3 years as a part-time assistant coach, Garosa was brought on as a full-time coach and professor in the college's health and physical education department.
He's such an organized person, such a great administrator, such a great friend, so loyal that in many, many ways he made me look much better than I should have because of the things he was doing, but he would not take credit for it. But behind the scenes and, you know, right up front, Frank Garosa has been the lifeblood of our track and field and program here, and a very, very dear friend of mine.
The Cardinals won an NCAA Division III national championship in cross country in 1987, the 7th in team's history, before sweeping the indoor and outdoor track and field national championships in 1989. Garosa played a role in 11 additional team national titles before taking over as head coach of the track and field program. He guided the Cardinals to indoor and outdoor national titles, earning National Head Coach of the Year honors from the United States Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. The Cardinals won the indoor national championship once again in 2012, marking the 18th national title in his tenure as a full-time coach.
We're bonded together with a common goal of trying to provide the very best program that we can, an atmosphere and culture for our track and cross-country programs. And so having Frank here and sharing those goals, those objectives with a great friend is just, I can't think of anything better professionally. I would hate to be here alone, but with Frank it really makes a heck of a lot of fun.
It is my pleasure to welcome Frank Garosa, Grammy, to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
Well, the gun went off already in Wheaton. They're probably at the half-mile mark, so I knew this was going to happen. So my mind really isn't here, but I do have, some notes, and certainly my body, my soul, my mind, my heart is with Al and the rest of the coaches trying for their 39th championship in a row. And when I get the text in about 22 more minutes, I will let everybody know. But again, congratulations to all the Hall of Fame members. I think 58, not including our new class here. I thank Jim Miller and the Hall of Fame committee for all the work they do. Thanks my families here, my son, my daughter, my wife, my sister, my mother. My father's recovering from double bypass surgery at 82, so he wasn't feeling very well today, so we wish him well and keep him in your prayers. I want to thank President Wilde, Vice President Lori Heyman, Athletic Director Jim Miller, and the whole cabinet for the faith and support they had as I was promoted to head track coach in 2011. And of course, my friend Al Calvis, his decision 30 years ago to stay here and to bring me and invite me to share in this unbelievable journey that we've had. Thanks to our coaching staff, I know some are here, our athletic administrators, our athletic trainers, and all the past and present athletes in our program. I did not run, jump, vault, or throw, and I owe all those thanks to those athletes and their parents who trusted us with their children, and they're really responsible for the success that we've had in this program. Our goal in track and field and cross country has always been to build winners in life. And not everyone's going to be an All-American or a national champion, but everyone can learn the process that it takes to develop the skills to be on the right path in life. I'm proud today to be able to say and recognize those who've had this kind of influence on my life. As a young boy, I watched my father, who did not have a college education, coached the Chicago Gladiators semi-professional football team. I saw the human side of coaching. He didn't learn about psychology of coaching, about kinesiology, about all the science, but he coached people. I watched him coach players. Also, as a young boy, I learned all the organizational skills and attention to details from my mother, as she helped me stay focused and finish all my school projects. Thank you, Mom. I met my wife Gina here at North Central College as she worked in the Alumni and Development Office, and she had a calming effect on me. and she taught me patience. However, the challenge of raising a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old, both of us have lost some of that virtue. We're working on it. We're working on it. I need to thank my grade school, high school, college coaches who were instrumental in guiding me to this coaching career. I'm blessed to be a coach. I pray that my children, Virginia and Dominic, will find that special person, a teacher, a coach, your sensei, your scout leader, an actor, a musician, a dancer, a singer, someone that will help your mom and I influence your path in life and all your direction in life. After one of our national championships, President Wilde asked me if my children attended the meet. They were in school. And he held talk with me and said how important it was for our children to experience what we do. And that reminded me of watching my father coach and accompanying my mother to her job at Chicago's McCormick Place to see how all the big conventions were set up. So this past August, I took my son Dominic, my 9-year-old son, to our cross-country preseason camp in Kenosha. And after our second run of the day, team lunch at Subway, a swim in the hotel pool, dinner at the Olive Garden, a team meeting at night, my son said to me, "So this is what you do for your job?" I'm blessed to be a coach. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. I can see how you inspire your runners. Awesome. Our final inductee for 2012 is Dr. Ken Sanders. Over the years, he has had a major impact on the health of our student athletes and the success of our athletic training program, which all we know is one of the tops in the country. I'd actually like to know how many in this room you've fixed broken bones or operated on them. Let's raise hands for everybody that's had, all the Hall of Famers. I know the president raised his hand. Ken is being inducted as a special inductee. These are individuals that off the playing field have had an incredible impact on our athletic program in our college. Some of the people that he's with in that special inductee category: Al Benedetti, Don Deachin, Larry Gregory, Dick Worley. They are all builders. Ken is our healer. Thanks, Ken. Let's watch.
North Central College student athletes have had the good fortune of competing under the watchful eye of a supremely dedicated and caring orthopedic surgeon for the past 36 years. Dr. Kenneth Sanders became the team physician at North Central in 1976.
In the book, Good to Great, one of the characteristics they talk about with great leaders is that they are selfless, that they get their sense of accomplishment by seeing what things they've touched go on to be successful. They're the kind of person that sits back, but they're powerful leaders and leaders at the highest level. And Ken Sanders is one of those leaders.
In addition to serving the medical needs of the Cardinal student athletes, Sanders was also instrumental in moving the college toward hiring its first full-time athletic trainers and eventually establishing its own fully accredited athletic training education program.
He mentors the students both in classes. He allows them to shadow him and his colleagues in his office, in his practice. You know, the students, it's one of their favorite rotations is working with him.
Sanders is the program's medical director and serves as a lecturer and clinical instructor to athletic training students.
He's so approachable. There's not a dumb question. He doesn't intimidate them. He makes them feel very comfortable. And I would say that with both the student athletes and with the athletic training students. You know, they can ask questions and he will answer them.
Sanders is still a fixture on the Cardinal sidelines today. And the man who has given so much to North Central College did get something in return.
From my personal standpoint, the greatest benefit to me has been the relationships that I've developed over these decades. I've developed many close friends who I cherish, and it's been a tremendous amount of fun.
It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Ken Sanders to the Athletic Hall of Fame. I do have to mention that he's operated on my knee 3 times, so.
Next time he'll be still walking. The 4th time will be the charm, right? Go. First of all, when I was here in the summer, I got called by Heidi to come over and talk about the upcoming year. When I came in, I walked into the Resurrect and into the training room. I was surrounded by Rick, Jimmy, Al, John, and several of the other coaches, and I'm standing there thinking to myself, what the hell did I do now? and then they informed me that I was being inducted into the Athletic Department's Hall of Fame. I was extremely honored and very grateful. And after I was informed of this, I gave a lot of thought as to why I've been able to be associated with the college for all these years. The first reason is my wife. She's been my support, my help, and my love for 42 years. She has been my inspiration throughout this time. She's been a blessing to me, to my kids, and to my grandchildren. She's been everything to me. And she's been a tremendous, tremendous benefit. And she let me come here. You know, I come here and I have fun. And that's the other thing I wondered about. Why am I getting honored for having fun? And it's been a tremendous ride. The second reason why I've been able to be involved here involves the values that the athletic department has demonstrated and reinforced in me over the decades. First of all, it's integrity. Doing the right thing has always been easy for the coaches that I've experienced at this college. The benefit and the well-being of the student athlete has always been the top priority. No exceptions. And it has been a pleasure to witness that. The second hallmark has been generosity. A wise man many years ago told me that the most important gift you can give to anyone is your time. And the folks in this department give that gift most generously every day. The third thing is dedication. It pours out of this place every day, in every way, through the staff and coaches of the athletic department and the athletic training department. It has been my pleasure to be a part of and influenced by the integrity, generosity, and dedication of the men and women of the athletic department of North Central College. Thank you again, and God bless you all.
Congratulations, Ken. Yeah, it's so inspiring to hear these words of these wonderful athletes, men and women have grown up to be so influential in our area and our country. And it's just wonderful. And I would like us all to give one last round of applause for all of our new inductees. I would just like to remind everyone that following this ceremony, and we would like to sing the alma mater, but just want to remind you that right afterwards there's a parade that goes down Loomis and ends up at the stadium, and then at 1 o'clock we will have a dedication of the new Riverwalk Gateway at the northwest part of the football field, a beautiful new entry into our campus. So I encourage you to go there at 1 o'clock, and then of course, beat the Titans at 2 o'clock, after we hear, of course, that we've won another championship from Frank, hopefully in a couple minutes. But thank you for coming, and if we'd all now join together, stand, and let's sing the alma mater. Hal, come help me. Okay, who wants to start this? Because we don't have a piano. Central is the school we love. For here we sing its praise. Come on, Jared. And from the east and from the west, you'll hear our voices raised. Hail, hail, North Central, hail, our alma mater true. We'll always, always loyal be to you, to you, to you. Go, Kyle!